So hi, welcome back, it's Katie, and today I want to talk to you about Kazuo Ishiguro's The Buried Giant. Now, as far as I understood it, or if I understand it correctly, this has been a little bit of a controversial book between critics and booktubers. Some people really loved it and some people really hated it. And yeah, this is my review. Let's talk about it. So first off, I have to tell you that Kazuo Ishiguro is more of a literary fiction kind of writer, and I don't read a lot of literary fiction. I read a lot of fantasy, and I'm not set on any genres. I'm not saying that I don't read literary fiction. I just don't read it as much. I'm not I cannot talk today. I'm not gravitating toward literary fiction as much as I am towards fantasy. So this review is coming from someone who reads a lot of fantasy, and this novel has fantasy elements in it, and that was the reason why I picked it up. If that wouldn't have been the case, I maybe wouldn't have read it, because I just don't read literary fiction that much. Maybe I should. Maybe I should read more literary fiction. Isn't that what the smart, educated people do? Read a lot of literary fiction? I don't know. Okay, so just to make sure you understand, this review is coming from a perspective of someone who reads a lot of fantasy. So let's get into it. What is it? I just cannot talk today. What is happening with my brain? I'm sorry. Okay, so what is the book about? The book, well, what happens in the book? Maybe I should phrase it like that. What happens is an elderly couple called Axel and Beatrice. They are both living in kind of a village in Britain, and they are both Britons, and they one day decide to go on this journey to find their son, who has moved away from them some time ago. And so they, make that decision and prepare for this journey, and then they set out to find their son. And on their way, they meet a lot of very, very, very strange people and go a little bit astray from their path, and things start to happen, and they eventually end up somewhere else, somewhere they didn't intend to go. So this is a little bit of an epic journey kind of story. I can't tell you, I really can't tell you anything about the plot, because that would be spoilers, wouldn't it? So yeah, my thoughts on this book. Well, it is very different for me as a reader of fantasy. It is very different from your J.R.R. Tolkien style, Lord of the Rings style, epic journey, the hero's journey book. It is not like that at all. So it is very different from any fantasy story I've ever read, and I like that. However, I think this is the type of book that you have to specifically know what you're getting into, because if you don't, you are very, I think you're very likely to be disappointed, or to be annoyed and to be bored, because this book is not, there is no action in this book. There's a little bit of action in this book, but it is very swift and fast, and then it's over. This is not a book. If you want to read an action very rich in action scenes kind of fantasy novel, this is not for you. Yeah, and partly of that is because the language is very, very different. It is very formal and stiff, and I've watched an interview where Mr. Ishiguro explained that he wanted it to sound slightly foreign and slightly like someone from a different time and different language, you know, would speak. And I don't know if that is how people with a different language kind of speak. So do you think I speak very formal, is what I want to say. Is what I want to ask you, because I'm, you know, not a native speaker. What else did I write? Yeah, so the writing style is very, very different from any other book I've ever read, but that could be because I, you know, like I said, I'm not a literary fiction reader. So, yeah. Yeah, the writing style is very different. It has a lot to do, the book is a lot, there's a lot of, a main theme of this book are memories, and I've noticed that the writing style is, it's more, it is, usually things are told in, through memories, like it is like someone is lying in the dark at the end of the day and remembering what happens during the day, so it is told through that a lot. That is a writing device that Ishiguro uses a lot in this novel, and I think it ties in very nicely with the memory overall theme of memory and memory loss and things that we remember of a, you know, long-term relationship like a marriage, and things that we remember as a culture that happens before, like things that we remember as a culture of our history. And yeah, so I thought that was very nicely done. What do you think? So yeah, but there are a lot of other topics in there, like cultural differences, marriage, war, or, you know, its justification. What did I write down? Yeah, genocide, death, and, you know, also a little bit of religion. Something I noticed was there was a lot of, you know, talk about Christianity, and a lot of things were justified with Christian belief, and I personally don't like that. I don't like justifying anything with any kind of belief, whether that's Muslim, what is it, Islam, you know, Christianity, Judaism. How do you say that correctly? Like that's just me. That's my personal thing that I don't like. I don't like someone stuffing religion down my throat. Not that it was like that, but there were parts where I was thinking, yeah, like, cut it with the Christianity crap. So if you believe in God and Christianity, that's good for you. I do not. Sorry. Also, for me personally, the story was a tad too long. I think it is, let me check. It is about, yeah, 360 pages long, and the last 80-90 pages I was just thinking like, I want to be done with it now. It was getting really boring. Oh no, no, you can't come in. There's a, how do you call him? Vesper. There's a wasp wanting to come in, but not happening. So yeah, it was a little bit too long for me personally. Yeah, another thing I didn't like was the representation of female characters. There are not a lot of female characters in this novel, and the ones who are there are very weak and dependent on men, and or you know, just really how do you say that? What is it called? Widows, like really angry and harsh and old haggard widows, and I just didn't like it. So can I recommend The Buried Giant to you out of a fantasy reader perspective? Yes, if you look for something different, if you want to read something that isn't the stereotypical Lord of the Rings epic journey kind of thing, then maybe you could enjoy it, but I have to tell you, it is very, very different, and maybe get it from a library, don't buy it, or check it out in a bookshop and read. That's what I did. I read the first 20 pages and I was thinking like, yeah, I'm interested in the story. I can see myself reading this book. So, and I enjoyed it for the most part. There were parts that I didn't enjoy as much, and oh yeah, one thing that I hated. There was a scene, and without giving any spoilers away, and it was pretty clear that this woman was raped continually. But it was represented in a kind of way that left it up for interpretation, that, you know, she got raped and kind of got glossed over it. And thanks, phone. And I hated it so much. I think rape should never be left up open for interpretation. If something is rape, if someone gets raped, they get raped. There's no question about it. So that was the only thing that really, really, really annoyed me. To a point where I was just put the book down and just had to make a cup of tea and let it sit there for half an hour before I could pick it up again. So yeah. But I would absolutely recommend it to you if you're a fantasy reader and you like to read something different. I don't know if you... I've seen a lot of people who love literary fiction and read a lot of literary fiction and absolutely hated this book. So I don't know if you would like it, if you like literary fiction. Maybe you can just tell me what you think. If you've read it, tell me what you think in the comments below. I would love to hear it, your thoughts. Anything else? I'm thinking, but I can't remember. Also, yes, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place with this one. This is set in Britain, as I said, but it is shortly after the reign of King Arthur, so it has that mythical kind of element to it. The fantasy elements weren't too overpowering. There wasn't a lot of fantasy in there. There was a little bit. There's a dragon. But other than that, not so much fantasy. So I think that was it now. Yeah, certainly this book gets you thinking, and that might be a good thing, might be a bad thing, depending on your personal preferences. I like it. I didn't love it, I liked it, and it was a little bit too long for me. And I have never read any Ishiguro novels before, but I want to pick up Never Let Me Go now. You know, that I just want to, you know, have that comparison now, because I heard people say that this wasn't a very good novel, so maybe my views will change if I read more of his novels or more literary fiction. You know, people can change opinions, that's okay, that's allowed. You can change your opinions anytime. So yeah, that was it. I hope you have an amazing day. Tell me what you think about The Buried Giant. Tell me if you want to pick it up, if you've read it, what do you think about it? And I hope you will have a wonderful, lovely day, and I will see you soon. Bye.